The fluorescent lights of Outpost Nebula 9 flickered as they always did during the midnight cycle, casting eerie shadows across the sterile white corridors. Nadia Winters pulled her thin station-issued jacket tighter around her shoulders, her footsteps echoing in the empty medical wing. 3 years as a nurse at this remote human outpost had taught her to appreciate the quiet moments. They were rare enough between emergencies and the constant hum of machinery keeping everyone alive in the unforgiving vacuum of space. 2 more hours, she murmured to herself, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. 2 more hours and I can finally sleep. The comm panel on her wrist chirped, startling her. Medical emergency, docking bay 7. Non-human patient. Immediate assistance required. Nadia's heart raced as she changed direction, running toward the docking bays. Non-human patients were uncommon at Nebula 9, a primarily human research station orbiting a gas giant in unclaimed space. The outpost maintained cordial relations with most spacefaring species but rarely received alien visitors requiring medical care. By the time she reached Docking Bay 7, security personnel were already gathered around a small unmarked shuttle. The bay's atmosphere shimmered with decontamination fields, standard protocol for unscheduled arrivals. "What's the situation?" Nadia called to Harlow, the security chief whose perpetual scowl had deepened to something approaching concern. "L'Amiran shuttle," Harlow replied, nodding toward the sleek silver craft. "They dropped off a passenger and departed immediately. Said he was resource inefficient. Left him with nothing but the clothes on his back." Nadia's blood ran cold. She'd heard stories about L'Amiran medical practices, brilliant innovations coupled with ruthless utilitarianism. If they deemed someone untreatable within their resource parameters, they simply discarded them. "Where is the patient?" she asked, scanning the bay. Harlow pointed to a huddled figure on a bench near the airlock. "He's conscious but unresponsive. Temperature readings are off the charts, not human normal for sure, but station sensors indicate he's running hot even for his species." Nadia approached slowly, medical scanner already in hand. The figure was humanoid, tall and lean, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an internal light, pale blue with faint luminescent patterns swirling beneath the surface. His hair was silvery white, falling in long strands around a face of striking, alien beauty. "Hello," she said softly, kneeling to meet his eyes, striking violet irises that seemed to capture and reflect the station's harsh lighting. "I'm Nadia, a nurse. Can you understand me?" The alien's gaze focused on her slowly, as if emerging from a dream. "I understand," he replied, his voice melodic but strained. "They said I am beyond healing. Resource inefficient." A bitter smile crossed his face. "My name is Talon." "Well, Talon," Nadia said, activating her scanner and running it over his trembling form, "at Nebula 9, we don't discard people because they're resource inefficient." The scanner beeped with its analysis, and Nadia frowned at the readings. His body temperature was dangerously elevated, cellular degradation accelerating, and some kind of energy imbalance was causing cascading system failures. The scanner's diagnosis was unhelpfully vague, unknown pathology. "Can you walk?" she asked. "We need to get you to the medical bay." Talon attempted to stand but stumbled, the luminescent patterns beneath his skin flickering erratically. Nadia caught him, surprised by both how light he was and the tingling sensation where their skin made contact, like a mild electric current running between them. "I'll help you," she said, supporting his weight as they made slow progress toward the medical wing. With each step, she became more aware of the strangeness of the situation, the warmth radiating from his body, the subtle scent like ozone after lightning, the way station personnel gave them a wide berth as they passed. By the time they reached the med bay, Talon's breathing had become labored, the glow beneath his skin pulsing unevenly. Nadia helped him onto a diagnostic bed, the advanced medical systems immediately scanning and attempting to compensate for his alien physiology. "Your people, they were right to abandon me," Talon whispered as the diagnostic bed adjusted to his form. "My condition is terminal by their standards. Stellar cascade syndrome, it affects only 1 in a million Lumerans. What exactly does it do? Nadia asked, studying the readouts that were finally beginning to make sense as the system adapted. My body produces too much energy, he explained, his voice weak. Lumerans naturally generate bioluminescent energy, but mine is uncontrolled. Without treatment, my cells will eventually burn out from the inside. Nadia frowned, accessing the station's xenobiology database. The information on Lumerans was sparse. They were notoriously private about their biology and seldom interacted with humans beyond formal diplomatic settings. There must be something we can do, she said, more to herself than to him. Talon's laugh was hollow. The finest Lumeran medical minds could find no solution within acceptable resource parameters. What could a human outpost possibly offer? Nadia squared her shoulders. Different perspectives, for one thing. Your doctors may have given up, but I haven't even started yet. As she spoke, an idea formed. The station's medical officer, Director Patel, would follow official protocol, which meant minimum intervention for non-human patients without diplomatic clearance. But Nadia knew someone who operated outside conventional medicine, someone who might help if she asked. Rest, she told Talon, administering a mild sedative that the system indicated would be compatible with his physiology. I need to make a call. As Talon drifted into an uneasy sleep, the patterns of light beneath his skin steadying slightly, Nadia retreated to her office and activated a private comm channel. Auric. It's Nadia from Nebula 9. I know it's late, but I have a patient who needs your kind of help. The kind that doesn't come in regulation medical packages. The screen flickered, revealing a wizened face with skin the color of burnished copper and eyes like polished onyx. Auric, former botanist turned xenobiological herbalist, who maintained a small greenhouse laboratory in the station's forgotten lower levels. A patient beyond conventional medicine? Auric's gravelly voice held a note of curiosity. Bring me samples and scans. I'll see what my garden and I can offer. As the connection ended, Nadia glanced back at Talon's sleeping form. The luminescent patterns flowing beneath his skin seemed to reach out toward her, like tendrils of light seeking connection in the darkness. Hold on, she whispered. I'm not giving up on you. Outside the viewport, the gas giant's swirling storms cast ever-changing colors across the medical bay, bathing them both in shades of purple and blue, two strangers from different worlds, connected by circumstance and the simple, universal truth that everyone deserves a second chance at life. You've brought me quite the puzzle, Nadia, Auric muttered, his copper-colored fingers dancing across holographic readouts of Talon's medical scans. The herbalist's laboratory was a stark contrast to the sterile medical bay, a jungle of exotic plants from a dozen worlds crowded every available surface, their strange blooms and tendrils reaching toward carefully calibrated light sources. The air was thick with earthy scents and the subtle perfume of alien flora. 3 days had passed since Talon's arrival, and his condition had stabilized but not improved. Nadia had managed to keep him out of Director Patel's immediate attention by classifying him as a non-critical research case, but that administrative sleight of hand wouldn't protect him forever. His energy production is fascinating, Auric continued, his black eyes gleaming with scientific curiosity. Lumerans naturally convert cosmic radiation into bioenergy, it's what gives them their glow, but his system has lost the ability to regulate output. Nadia leaned closer to examine the data. Can we create something to help him regulate it externally? Some kind of dampening field? The herbalist shook his head, the beads woven into his silver-streaked hair clicking softly together. A dampening field would only mask symptoms, not address the cause. We need something that can help his cells remember their natural rhythms. He gestured to a particularly unusual plant with translucent blue leaves that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. This might help, astral fern from Proxima Centauri's third moon. It has properties that help stabilize energy patterns. Is it safe for Lumerans? Nadia asked, hope and skepticism warring in her voice. Nothing is without risk, Auric admitted, but I've treated enough non-humans to make an educated guess. The question is whether your patient would consent to experimental treatment. Nadia thought of Talon's resigned expression, the way he'd accepted his people's death sentence with bitter dignity. I think he would. At this point, what does he have to lose? Back in the medical bay, Talon was awake, staring out the viewport at the swirling colors of the gas giant below. The glow beneath his skin had dimmed over the past days, a sign Nadia recognized as dangerous. His energy was turning inward, accelerating the cellular breakdown. You came back, he observed without turning, his musical voice weaker than before. Most of your colleagues just send in medical drones. Drones lack bedside manner, Nadia replied with a small smile, setting down the container of carefully prepared astral fern extract. And they're terrible conversationalists. That earned her a flicker of amusement in his luminescent patterns. She'd begun to notice how his skin betrayed emotions his face tried to hide. The complex swirls and eddies of light seemed to speak a language all their own. We may have found something that could help, she said, moving to stand beside his bed. It's experimental, but not approved by your station protocols, Talon finished, finally turning to face her. His violet eyes searched hers. Why risk yourself for me? I'm a stranger, not even of your species. The question caught Nadia off guard. She'd been so focused on solving the medical problem that she hadn't fully examined her own motivations. Something about Talon called to her, his quiet dignity, perhaps, or the way his eyes seemed to hold ancient starlight. Because everyone deserves care, she answered simply. Human, Lamaran, or otherwise. Talon studied her for a long moment, the patterns beneath his skin forming intricate designs she hadn't seen before. You're unusually compassionate for a human, he finally said. My people have always believed your kind too volatile, too ruled by emotion to practice true healing arts. Maybe emotion is exactly what healing needs sometimes, Nadia countered, preparing the astral fern extract for administration. Caring about outcomes, about people, it pushes us to find solutions where cold logic might just calculate a loss. She explained Oryx's theory about the extract helping to stabilize his energy patterns. Talon listened attentively, asking surprisingly technical questions that revealed a deep understanding of his own biology. You have medical training, Nadia realized. A shadow crossed his face. I was a healer before I became a patient. Ironic, isn't it? I specialized in energy disorders but couldn't solve my own. Then you understand the risks, she said. Talon nodded, then extended his arm. Proceed. As you humans say, I'll be your guinea pig. The extract was administered via a specialized hypospray that allowed precise control of dosage. As the luminescent blue liquid entered his system, Talon gasped, his back arching slightly off the bed. The patterns beneath his skin flared brilliantly, causing the medical bay's lighting to dim automatically in response. Talon. Nadia called anxiously, monitoring his vitals as they spiked erratically. He managed through gritted teeth, still here. For several tense minutes, Nadia watched as his body absorbed the extract, his luminescent patterns shifting through colors she hadn't seen him display before, deep purples, flashes of emerald green, pulsing gold. Gradually, the chaotic light show settled into a steadier rhythm, and his breathing eased. That was. He exhaled slowly, intense. Did it help? Nadia asked, scanner already in hand. I think so, Talon said, sounding surprised. The burning sensation has diminished. I can feel my energy flow becoming more directed. The scanner confirmed his assessment. His cellular degradation had slowed by approximately 18%. Not a cure, but a promising start. We'll continue with regular treatments, Nadia decided. I'll monitor for side effects and adjust the dosage as needed. Over the next week, Talon's condition improved steadily under the astral fern regimen. The luminescence beneath his skin grew stronger but more controlled, and he began to regain strength. Nadia spent most of her off-duty hours with him, partly to monitor his progress, but increasingly because she enjoyed his company. Unlike many of the station personnel with their rigid mindsets and jargon-filled conversations, Talon spoke of worlds she'd never seen, of civilizations that existed when humans were still drawing on cave walls. He described the floating cities of his homeworld, where buildings made of living crystal changed color with the emotions of their inhabitants. "I've never seen anything so beautiful," Nadia admitted one evening as she administered his treatment. "The farthest I've been from Earth is this station." Talon's expression softened. "Perhaps someday you will. The universe has wonders beyond imagining." Their conversations often lasted long into the night cycle, when the station's activities quieted and they could pretend, for brief moments, that they were just two people getting to know each other rather than nurse and patient. It was during one such late conversation that Director Patel finally caught up with Nadia's administrative maneuvering. "Nurse Winters," the director's sharp voice cut through the medical bay as the doors slid open, "you've been treating an unauthorized alien patient with experimental compounds for nearly 2 weeks without proper clearance." Nadia stood quickly, positioning herself between the director and Talon. "The patient was in critical condition and abandoned by his own people. I made a medical judgment call." "A call that wasn't yours to make," Director Patel countered, dark eyes flashing with anger. "And using unsanctioned treatments from that, herbalist." "Treatments that are working," Nadia insisted. "His condition has improved by over 40%. "That's beside the point," the director snapped. "We have protocols for a reason. The station could face serious diplomatic repercussions if..." "If what?" Talon's voice interrupted, unexpectedly strong. He sat up in the medical bed, his luminescent patterns pulsing with steady determination. "If you save the life of someone deemed expendable by their own government." "I've broken no laws, Director. I was abandoned in your jurisdiction, and this healer," he nodded toward Nadia, "chose to honor the most fundamental principle of medicine, to help those in need." Director Patel seemed taken aback by Talon's eloquence. After a moment of tense silence, she sighed. "I'll need to report this to station administration. In the meantime, Nurse Winters, you're to document every treatment you've administered and provide projections for the patient's recovery timeline." She turned to leave, then paused. "And Nadia, next time, follow proper channels. Your heart's in the right place, but rules exist for everyone's protection." After the director left, Nadia exhaled shakily, the adrenaline draining from her system. "That could have gone worse." "Thank you," Talon said quietly, "for defending me." "You did most of the defending yourself," she pointed out with a small smile. He reached out, his luminescent hand hovering near hers. "May I?" he asked. Curious, Nadia nodded. When their hands touched, she felt that now familiar tingling sensation, but this time it was accompanied by a wave of emotion, gratitude, admiration, and something warmer she couldn't quite name. "Lumarans can share emotions through touch," Talon explained, his violet eyes holding hers. "I wanted you to know what your care has meant to me." The intimacy of the gesture left Nadia breathless. I should check your latest readings," she stammered, reluctantly withdrawing her hand. As she busied herself with the medical equipment, she couldn't ignore the realization dawning in her mind. What had begun as professional compassion had evolved into something far more complicated, a connection that crossed species boundaries and defied rational explanation. She was falling for him. And given the way his luminescent patterns reached toward her whenever she was near, swirling in patterns she was beginning to recognize as affection, perhaps she wasn't falling alone. "The astral fern extract is losing efficacy," Auric announced grimly, reviewing Talon's latest scans. 2 months had passed since their first experimental treatment, and after initial dramatic improvements, Talon's condition had plateaued, then begun a slow decline. "His body is adapting to it, building resistance." Nadia felt her heart sink. In those 2 months, Talon had become more than just a patient. Their evening conversations had evolved into something precious, a meeting of minds that transcended their different origins. She'd learned to read the subtle patterns of light beneath his skin, to understand his gentle humor, to value his perspective shaped by centuries of life among the stars. "There must be something else we can try," she insisted, pacing the cluttered laboratory where exotic plants reached toward artificial light sources. Auric hesitated, then pulled an ancient-looking datapad from beneath a pile of botanical reference materials. "There is one possibility," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "A legend, really, but with enough scientific basis that I've never entirely dismissed it." He pulled up an image of an extraordinary flower. Its petals seemed to be made of condensed starlight, shimmering with cosmic energy. "The Stellaris bloom," Auric explained. "Said to grow only where cosmic radiation meets certain mineral compositions in precise conditions. It's rumored to have remarkable properties for energy modulation." "Where can we find it?" Nadia asked, hope rekindling. "That's the problem." Auric pointed to a star chart, highlighting a small moon orbiting the gas giant below their station. "If my research is correct, it may grow in the crystal caves of Helios Minor. But the moon is officially off-limits. Unstable tectonics make it too dangerous for standard expeditions." Nadia's mind was already racing ahead. "But not impossible to reach?" Auric's black eyes studied her with concern. "Nadia, even if you could get there, the chances of finding the bloom are slim. And if station administration discovers you've taken an unauthorized shuttle to a restricted moon?" "I don't care about regulations," she said fiercely. "I care about saving him." Later that evening, Nadia entered the private medical room that had become Talon's home on the station. In the dim light, his bioluminescence was more pronounced, casting beautiful patterns across the walls. He was seated by the viewport, gazing out at the gas giant and its moons, lost in thought. "You've been speaking with Auric," he said without turning, his musical voice tinged with resignation. "The treatments are failing." Nadia moved to stand beside him. "How did you know?" A sad smile played across his lips as he finally looked up at her. "Your emotions radiate from you like solar flares, Nadia. I don't need physical contact to sense your concern." She sat beside him, closer than professional boundaries would dictate, but those lines had blurred long ago. "We've found another possibility. A flower that grows on Helios Minor. The restricted moon." Talon's luminescent patterns shifted to colors she recognized as alarm. "That's too dangerous." "It's worth the risk," she countered. "Not for you to take." His hand reached for hers, deliberate this time, and the now familiar tingle of their connection bloomed between them. Through that contact, she felt his resolve, his acceptance, and beneath it all, something that made her breath catch, a deep, resonant affection that transcended simple gratitude. "I've lived centuries, Nadia," he said softly. "I've witnessed supernovas and the birth of stars. I've walked worlds you cannot imagine. If my time is ending, I can accept that fate." "Well, I can't," she replied, her voice breaking slightly. "Maybe that makes me a stubborn human, but I'm not ready to give up." The patterns beneath his skin shifted to a color she hadn't seen before, a deep, intense blue with flecks of gold. "Why does my survival matter so much to you?" The question hung between them, demanding truth. Nadia had been avoiding this moment, this acknowledgement, but she couldn't hide anymore. "Because I care about you," she admitted. "More than I should. More than makes any rational sense." Talon's patterns brightened, reaching toward her like tendrils of light. "Among my people," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "such connections are rare and precious. To find resonance with another soul, even one so different from one's own, is considered a gift from the cosmos itself." His free hand rose to hover near her cheek, not quite touching. "May I?" When she nodded, his fingertips brushed her skin with feather-light pressure. The connection was immediate and overwhelming, a flood of emotions that were both alien and achingly familiar. Longing. Wonder. Affection so profound it bordered on reverence. "This is why I will accompany you to Helios Minor," he said as their connection slowly ebbed. "Not just for my survival, but for what might exist between us if I live." Director Patel was furious when she discovered their plan, but in a surprise twist, she didn't try to stop them. I should have you both confined to quarters, she said, arms crossed as she faced them in her office. But... Her expression softened slightly. What you've accomplished with your treatments is remarkable, Nurse Winters. And you, Talon, your insights have already advanced our understanding of energy medicine considerably. She sighed heavily. I'm logging this as a scientific expedition with medical implications. Take the research shuttle, it has better shielding against radiation. And Nadia? Her dark eyes held a warning. You have 48 hours before I'm required to file a formal report. After that, I cannot protect either of you from the consequences. The journey to Helios Minor took just under 3 hours in the compact research shuttle. Talon sat beside Nadia in the co-pilot seat, his condition stable but fragile. The astral fern extract had bought them time, but the decline was accelerating. They both knew this might be their only chance. As they approached the moon's pockmarked surface, sensors detected the cave system Auric had identified. They landed on a relatively stable plateau, the shuttle's systems immediately beginning to monitor for seismic activity. The atmospheric composition is breathable but thin, Nadia said, checking the readouts. We'll need to move quickly, the longer we stay, the greater the risk of tectonic shifts. They donned lightweight environmental suits as a precaution and emerged onto the moon's surface. The landscape was hauntingly beautiful, crystalline formations jutted from the rocky ground, refracting the light of distant stars in prismatic displays. Above them, the gas giant dominated the sky, its swirling storms creating a constantly changing canvas of color. It's magnificent, Nadia breathed, momentarily overwhelmed. Yes, Talon agreed, but when she turned, she found him looking not at the vista but at her, his violet eyes filled with something that made her heart race. They made their way carefully toward the cave entrance, guided by Auric's detailed scans. Inside, the crystal formations were even more spectacular, vast columns and delicate structures that seemed to sing faintly when disturbed by their passage. These crystals, Talon explained as they ventured deeper, they're similar to those my people use in our energy-focusing rituals. They resonate with bioluminescent frequencies. As if in response to his words, the patterns beneath his skin brightened, and the surrounding crystals pulsed with answering light. The effect was mesmerizing, a conversation of light between living being and mineral formation. We're close, Nadia whispered, following her scanner readings toward a chamber deeper in the cave system. The radiation levels and mineral composition are exactly what Auric described. The chamber they entered left them both speechless. Crystals spiraled from floor to ceiling, each one containing what appeared to be captured starlight. In the center, growing from a bed of crystalline soil, was a cluster of the stellaris blooms, their petals translucent and luminous, shimmering with cosmic energy. They're real, Nadia gasped, approaching carefully. Talon remained at the entrance, his breathing labored. The journey had taxed his failing systems, and the patterns beneath his skin were fluctuating erratically. Hurry, he managed. I can feel the moon's energy shifting. Nadia quickly but carefully harvested several blooms, securing them in the specialized container Auric had provided. As she worked, a low rumble vibrated through the cave, sending tiny crystal shards raining down from above. We need to leave, now, she called, rushing back to Talon's side. They made their way through the increasingly unstable cave system as tremors intensified around them. A particularly violent shake sent Nadia stumbling forward, away from a column that crashed down where she'd been standing seconds before. Nadia! Talon lunged forward with unexpected strength, pulling her away from another falling crystal formation. The effort cost him dearly, his luminescence flickered dangerously as he collapsed against her. I've got you, she promised, supporting his weight as they staggered toward the exit. Just a little further. They emerged onto the moon's surface as a major tremor shook the ground beneath them. The path they'd taken was rapidly becoming unstable, crystal formations shattering and reforming in the volatile tectonic activity. By the time they reached the shuttle, Talon was barely conscious, his light dimming to dangerous levels. Nadia secured him in the co-pilot's seat and initiated emergency launch procedures, the shuttle rising just as the landing area began to fracture beneath them. "Stay with me," she urged as they escaped the moon's thin atmosphere. "We have the blooms. We're going to make it." Back aboard the station, Auric worked frantically to process the Stellaris blooms into a viable treatment. The flowers' properties were even more remarkable than the legend suggested. They contained compounds that resonated perfectly with Lumeron bioluminescent frequencies. "His condition is critical," Auric warned as they prepared the first dose. The strain of the expedition pushed his systems to the breaking point. "This treatment is his last hope." Nadia took Talon's hand, his skin now barely glowing, the patterns faded to near invisibility. "I'm here," she whispered, not knowing if he could hear her. "Don't leave me now, not when we've come so far." The Stellaris extract was administered directly to his central energy pathways, a risky procedure that could either save him or accelerate his decline. For several agonizing minutes, there was no response. Then, slowly, impossibly, light began to return to his skin, not the erratic flaring of his illness but a steady, controlled luminescence that spread outward from his core. The patterns formed complicated, beautiful designs unlike anything Nadia had seen before. Hours passed as Talon's body integrated the Stellaris compounds. Nadia refused to leave his side, watching as color and strength gradually returned to his form. When his violet eyes finally opened, they focused immediately on her face. "You did it," he murmured, his voice stronger than it had been in weeks. "We did it," she corrected, tears of relief threatening to spill. His hand sought hers, and the connection that flowed between them had changed. There was no longer pain or resignation, only wonder and possibility and that deeper emotion that had been growing between them. "Among my people," Talon said softly, "there is a belief that souls who resonate together are connected by cosmic threads, destined to find each other across the vastness of space and time. Is that your way of saying we were meant to meet?" Nadia asked, a smile tugging at her lips. "It's my way of saying," he replied, the patterns beneath his skin forming the now familiar configuration she'd come to recognize as love, "that what we found is rare and precious and worth crossing galaxies to preserve." His luminescence brightened, casting their joined hands in gentle blue light. "When I am fully recovered, I must return to my homeworld, to share what we've discovered about treating stellar cascade syndrome." Nadia's heart constricted at the thought of him leaving, but she nodded in understanding. Some separations were inevitable. "But," he continued, his eyes holding hers, "I would like to return. If you would welcome me." "I would," she whispered, the simple words carrying the weight of a promise. Outside the viewport, Helios Minor was visible as a distant point of light, its crystalline surface reflecting the glow of countless stars. Somewhere in its unstable caves, more Stellaris blooms would grow, offering hope to others afflicted with Talon's condition. But in the quiet of the medical bay, illuminated by the gentle patterns of Talon's recovering luminescence, Nadia knew they had discovered something even rarer, a connection that transcended the boundaries of worlds and species, a harmony of souls resonating across the cosmic silence. When Talon's fingers traced the line of her jaw, the energy that passed between them felt like coming home, to a place she had never been but somehow always known. "The universe has strange and wonderful plans," he murmured, echoing words from their first days together. This time, Nadia knew exactly what he meant.